Good afternoon, and welcome to our first ever 55 and Better virtual Expo. Today is session number 1, Practical Tips for Preventing Falls. My name is Al Manzi. I'm President and CEO for Prairie Mountain Media and publisher for the Loveland Reporter Herald. I'd like to remind everybody that if you look at the bottom of your device screen, you'll see a Q&A or a chat feature. You can go into either one of those and type in questions as they come up during the session, so you won't forget them as we get toward the end when we actually have a Q&A. So when our presenter is finished today, be prepared to ask any questions that you have. Our presenter today is Evon Schones. She's the Director of Wellness for the Good Samaritan Society at Loveland Village. So please welcome Evon Schones.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. I'm going to be talking today about practical tips for preventing falls. Falls happen. They just do. In fact, they're the leading cause of injuries for older Americans. 1 of every 4 people over the age of 65 fall every year. And the older you get, the more likely you are to fall. Sometimes the result of a fall can be life-changing or life-threatening, so it's important to do what you can to prevent a fall before it happens. Falls are absolutely not inevitable. If you understand what might put you at risk of falling, you can help stop them before they even happen. Some very common causes of falling, which often overlap, are orthostatic hypertension, also known as getting a head rush, can be brought on by dehydration, medication, low blood pressure, or thyroid disorders. Hazards at home and sedentary lifestyle are also very common causes for falling. What is orthostatic hypertension? It's a head rush. We've all had them, but what causes you to get a head rush? When you change positions quickly, where the heart and brain are suddenly elevated, gravity causes blood to pool in your legs. Blood pressure drops, and the baroreceptors in the heart and neck sense the drop in blood pressure and send information to your brain to increase heart rate and narrow blood vessels, which stabilizes blood pressure. The symptoms of a head rush can include dizziness, fainting, nausea, blurred vision, weakness. Sometimes people say everything goes black and then comes back. Many things can contribute to this delay, and I hate to tell you, but one of the most common simply is aging. As you age, the baroreceptors are less sensitive, so it takes a little longer to regulate your blood pressure. Other causes can include dehydration, taking certain medications, nervous system or thyroid disorders, low blood pressure, unbalanced electrolytes. Low blood sugar is a big one, especially if you're on the borderline of being diabetic or not diabetic, if you've been on bed rest for a long time, and many more reasons. So what do you do?
Hey, Evan.
Yes, ma'am.
We aren't able to see your screen. Can you try sharing one more time?
I sure will. Let me see what I can do. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem at all.
Let's try this. Would you like me to start over?
No, I think what you've had is great so far. So no worries there. Yep, I can see it now. So we'll just have you present from whichever slide, or from the beginning, whichever you prefer. And that way we've got that kind of visual.
How about if I go to, let's see if I can click it on that and that. How about that?
Wonderful.
Okay.
We can see it. Thank you.
You betcha. Sorry about that. So back to where we were. What do you do if you get a head rush? You can drink more decaffeinated or low caffeine beverages, such as water, tea, sparkling water, or occasionally juice. I say occasionally because if blood sugar issues are a problem, that's a lot of sugar very quickly. So you want to take it easy on the juice. If you're not a big fan of drinking a lot of water, You can also eat high water content foods such as watermelon or cucumbers. Do not exercise outdoors in the heat. That, for lots of reasons, that increases your body heat, which all by itself can cause you to faint, but also increases sweating, and that causes dehydration, which would cause a head rush. If you wear compression socks, that helps keep your blood from pooling in your legs, which is part of the problem of why you get that orthostatic hypertension. Try eating smaller, low carbohydrate meals spaced throughout the day to help balance blood sugar. Unless you've been told by a doctor to avoid sodium, try eating a little bit more salt. That can sometimes increase your blood pressure a little bit. If low blood pressure is the problem, that can help alleviate it. Sit and stand slowly. If you're lying down, sit up and pause before standing. Then sit with your back straight, head up, and slowly work into a standing position, holding on to something just in case. Hazards at home are also a really big cause of falls. You want to, I should just say, so often you hear about people tripping on items around the house and having a terrible fall as a result of tripping on something or sliding on something that you've just got laying around. These falls are easily avoided by making a few small changes around your house or even simple lifestyle changes. My grandma was in an assisted living facility in Topeka. She was sitting on a couch with a blanket over her lap while somebody knocked on the door. She stood up quickly. The blanket fell down around her ankles and she tried to take a step to the door. Well, that obviously caused a fall. Had she had slowed down, taken the blanket off of her lap, stood up more slowly, that fall would have been avoided. Keep floors and pathways clear of magazines, newspapers, dog toys, electrical cords, oxygen tubing, etc. Move or remove throw rugs or secure them to the floor with double-faced tape. Use non-slip mats or stickers in your bathtub or shower. When you're sitting in a chair, I refer to this as the 3 points of contact rule. When you go to sit in a chair, first, make sure the chair is where you think it is. Then turn away from your chair, back up towards it until you feel the back of your chair on your chair on the back of your calves. Reach back with one hand to hold on to the arm of the chair and then slowly sit back into the chair. If the chair does not have armrests, that's okay. Do the same thing, only put your hands on your knees or your thighs and ease your way down into the chair using the same guidelines. 3 points of contact. Move tables, plant stands, etc. from high traffic areas. Immediately clean or have somebody else clean up spills. Tile floors and wooden floors get really, really slick when oil or water gets on them, so just make sure to clean things up right away. Store things like dishes, towels, and so on, things that you use every day within reach, rather than up high where you have to climb on a ladder or stand on a stool to get to them. Storing things where you have to get down on your hands and knees can also present a problem, especially if you have a little trouble getting up from the ground. Light up your living space. Make sure you can see where you are going to avoid tripping on objects that are hard to see, and make sure the path between you and the light switch is also clear of tripping hazards. Wear sensible shoes. Flip-flops and clogs and mules are really convenient because they're easy to get on your feet, but they also come off of your feet very easily. So if they go on easily, they come off easily, that presents a fall risk. When you turn, lift your feet and step through a turn instead of twisting your body. Oftentimes, people will twist their body and one of their feet gets stuck in the carpet. They go to take a step and one foot trips over the other. You've all seen that happen. So just little steps into a turn make a big difference. And boy, here's something for today. Ice and gravel are a huge fall risk. We canceled classes today because of the weather. We had a lot of slick ice and then threw sand and gravel down and salt to help melt the ice. But then that gravel is also something that makes it really easy to slip and fall. When I was in my late 20s, I was up in the mountains. It was so cold. I was in a parking lot, did not see that black ice, slipped right on it. Hands and feet went up in the air, came down flat on my tailbone, broke my tailbone. Later, many, many years later, found out I had also broken a vertebrae in my low back. Well, February of 2019, I ended up with a spinal fusion, all because of that one fall so many years ago. Be very careful on the ice and gravel. If you tend to get dizzy or lose your balance, you might consider using assistive devices like a walker or a cane. They can be extremely helpful if you have an issue such as vertigo, neurological disorders, or neuropathy. A four-wheeled walker offers a great place to sit if you're on your way somewhere and decide that you need to stop and rest, or if you get a little lightheaded. I highly recommend a four-wheel walker. An occupational therapist is a fantastic resource for adapting habits, living spaces, or tools to make activities of daily living easier to help prevent falls, such as adding handrails to both sides of a stairway, getting a raised toilet seat with armrests, grab bars for a shower and tub, or adding a taller toilet. Did you know you can buy a toilet that's actually about 6 inches taller than a regular toilet? If you have a house built, just put one of those in. Don't deal with the short toilet. Get the big one. Shower seats are also good for bathtubs, or you can even get a walk-in shower and tub. The most important thing you can do, in my opinion, is exercise. Falls happen many times because of a loss of strength, balance, or agility. But there are so many ways to combat these problems. All of them take a little effort on your part, but it is worth it. The phrase "use it or lose it" could never be truer than when talking about taking part in exercise programs specifically to reduce your risk of falls. In fact, Harvard Medical School noted that exercise programs can reduce the risk of injuring yourself when you fall by 37%, falls that lead to serious injury by 43%, or falls that lead to broken bones by 61%. So how exactly does exercise reduce the risk of getting hurt when you fall or falling at all? Well, there's a few reasons. First, exercise can increase muscular strength. Strong bones can help prevent falls, but also provide padding around bones and joints when a fall occurs. I have found that there are 3 specific muscle groups that, when weak, can increase your risk of falling. These are the gluteus medius, muscles of the core or torso, and the anterior tibialis. Exercise also increases the strength of bones and improves coordination and agility. Let's talk about the anterior tibialis, also called the the tibialis anterior. It goes either way. Let's talk about the anterior tibialis, or the TA, first. This muscle group runs, as you can see, along the outside of the shin bone on the lower leg. When you walk, these muscles pull the toe and foot up, keeping you from tripping on anything in your path, including carpeting. If the foot does not pull up, the toe drags during your step and often causes a person to trip. This is the most common cause. If you're walking on an uneven surface or even on carpeting, going across a throw rug, or like we talked earlier, if there's an oxygen or electrical tube in your way, or for goodness sake, around my house, it's always about the dog toys. When you're walking and your toe stays down, your toe is likely to catch on anything in your path and cause a trip. Keeping the anterior tibialis strong allows the toe to raise fully to avoid the situation of tripping over something because the toe doesn't lift. When this muscle is weak, reaction time to avoiding a fall is also reduced. So exercises that focus on lifting the toe, like walking on your heels, walking uphill on a treadmill, sitting in a chair, leaving your heels on the ground, but lifting your toes like you're tapping your toes, but lifting your toes up as high as you can, will increase the strength of that anterior tibialis. If you have ever had shin splints, then you know exactly where this muscle is on the front of your leg. Second muscle group I want to talk about is the gluteus medius. You can see from the picture where exactly it lays, or is that lies? One or the other. It sits on the posterior side of the pelvis. It attaches to the top of your femur and along the posterior ridge of your iliac crest. This muscle is tasked with the job of keeping the hips level when both legs are not bearing equal weight. So think of standing on one leg or walking upstairs, walking slowly on a flat surface. With each stride you take, for a short time during the slide, one leg holds all of your body weight. During this portion of the stride, the gluteus medius has to fire up to keep the hips level until both legs are bearing equal weight again. This happens with every single step you take. If that muscle becomes weak from being sedentary, an injury, or illness, the non-weight bearing leg will drop and oftentimes will not clear an obstacle you're trying to step over. Think about stepping over, once again, a dog toy, a cord, a box, or even a stone in the sidewalk. Many people especially notice this type of weakness when they're walking upstairs. How many times have you been walking upstairs and your foot doesn't raise, your whole leg doesn't raise high enough to clear that stair? Oftentimes it's because the gluteus medius didn't kick in, or your proprioception was off just a little bit. Think of it as, you oftentimes hear people say one leg is longer than the other. Well, not necessarily so. Maybe your hip drops lower on one side than the other. So you'll be walking along, your body thinks that your legs are level, but that's just an illusion. One leg is lower, not longer, but lower than the other. So it does tend to catch on things, and you stumble and fall quite a bit. I should go back real quick. Sorry about that. I want to tell you some exercises you can do to keep this muscle strong. One of the most common and the easiest to do is just a slow march in place, lifting your knee as high as you can. You can do clamshells, which if you've ever gone to a physical therapist and told you have sciatica, you have done a clamshell. It's when you're lying on your side, your feet are together, knees are together, and you're basically in a fetal position. And then you lift your top knee up, keeping your feet together, and back down. It looks like a clamshell. You can also do standing lateral leg raises, all your weight on one leg, the other leg goes straight out to the side and back in with your toe pointed in slightly. All those can really help decrease the risk of falls because of a weakness in this particular muscle. The last muscle group I want to talk about today is the muscles of the core. Now, normally we include the gluteal muscles in this particular group, but because we just covered that, we're not going to deal with those right now. The core muscles include the muscles of the abdomen, low back, and the muscles that run along the sides of the trunk. These muscles do two main things. They move the spine when you sit up, twist, extend, turn, get up from a floor, bend over, and so much more. Second, they stabilize the spine or hold it still when other body parts are moving. It serves as a solid anchor for more peripheral muscles so that when you lift something up, your back is solid, your back is protected. You can lift something without bending your back or falling forward. Crunches are a really great exercise to work on core mobility, while planks are a really good exercise for working on core stability. Here's a great example. When you reach up high for something and lean a little bit to the side, think of how far you can lean to the side without falling over or having to catch yourself before you fall. The stronger your core, the further you'll be able to lean to the side. Say you're grabbing something from a shelf, which you shouldn't be doing, but the further you can lean to the side without falling over. That is what a strong core can do. Exercise also increases the strength of your bones. Resistance training and impact exercises help improve the strength and density of bones. The stronger your bones are, the less likely they are to break if you fall. Your bones also serve as an anchor for your muscles. So imagine your bicep muscle. Your bicep muscle is attached to your lower arm and your shoulder through tendons. You can bend your arm because that is a solid connection between the tendon and the bone. If your bone is weak and that bicep tendon contracts, you can often get a fracture that will pull a piece of bone off where the tendon is attached. So keeping the bone strong allows the muscles to do their job, knowing that they're attached solidly to the bone. Impact exercises, like, for example, when I sit at my desk, I sit on an exercise ball and I bounce. That small amount of impact on my spine helps keep my spine strong. If you are walking and every now and then kind of stomp your feet, that is an impact. That helps increase the strength of your bones. Resistance training and impact exercises both help increase the strength of bones. Improved coordination and agility. Have you ever heard of proprioception? I just mentioned it a minute ago. Proprioception is often referred to as the sixth sense. It's a type of brain-body connection that allows us to know where each part of our bodies are in space without looking. It also allows us to react to our environment to help keep us balanced. Try closing your eyes and touching your nose. You can do it without looking because of proprioception. Or if you stand on one foot and look down, you can see that foot moving, making small corrections to keep you balanced and upright. If one foot cannot do it by itself, the other foot will come down and land in just the right place to keep you from toppling over. You don't have to think about it, it just happens automatically. Think about driving a car. As you drive along, the road is straight, but you're still making small corrections with the steering wheel to keep the car straight on the road. The car naturally will move as wind picks up or road conditions are a little off kilter if you hit a pothole, etc. But by making those small corrections, you keep the road, or you keep the car going straight on the road. Well, this is how proprioception works. It reacts to your environment to keep you balanced. Sometimes, due to sedentary lifestyle, nerve or muscle damage or illness, this sense can become damaged or weak. Symptoms of poor proprioception include balance issues, obviously, clumsiness, or really uncoordinated movements. Test your proprioception by sitting straight up and down in a chair and closing your eyes. When I say straight up and down, meaning your spine is straight. Arms are out to the side, palms up. Now, bring your hands up over your head and touch your middle fingers to each other over your head. If you can touch those fingers together without looking, your proprioception is great. If you came pretty close, you could use a little bit of work. If you missed it completely, then we need to work on your proprioception. I may have already said some of this, but let's talk about proprioception and balance. You have to use it or you will lose it. Some things that can help with your proprioception or to get your balance back is to put yourself in out of balance situations and practice staying balanced. When you do this, make sure you have something around you like a countertop or a desk or something solid so that you can grab a hold of something if you lose your balance. You do not want to fall while practicing not falling. For example, stand with your feet heel to toe, what we call a tandem stance. And try going up on your toes and back down, staying balanced. See how long you can stand in that tandem stance. Try turning your head side to side while in that tandem stance. Try, another thing is walking in a straight line, heel to toe, like you got pulled over at 2 a.m. when you were 20, which hopefully none of you did. Or you can also do simpler things. Try brushing your hair with the opposite hand than you normally do, or brushing your teeth. Here at Good Samaritan Society, we do what's called the protective stepping wheel. Every single one of our balance classes, we have 4 a week specifically involved with improving balance, and other ones that we hit balance while we're working on strength or cardio or whatever. We do a very specific protective stepping wheel to constantly keep those neural pathways clear between the brain and the body, or to keep your proprioception, I call it clean, because in my mind, I always picture a neural pathway, the brain-body connection, as a horse path. And if the horse doesn't go on the path enough, grass grows over that path. That's how I picture a neural pathway. Or if your proprioception is good, that dirt path that the horse travels on is perfectly clear. If proprioception is bad, think of it as being covered with grass. That's just how I always think of proprioception. If you've ever done Tai Chi, getting back to our protected stepping wheel, you have practiced the steps that we do in our protective stepping wheel. When it comes down to it, there's no way to ensure that you will never fall, but you have the power to reduce your risk of falling or suffering severe outcomes if it does happen. Stay healthy and balanced, be aware of your surroundings, and keep your surroundings clear. Practice balance and agility exercises, and pay attention to how you react to your medications. Drink water, eat balanced meals that do not cause your blood sugar to raise quickly. Thank you so much for your time. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, we don't have any from the audience yet. I was hoping we would get some. Can you talk a little bit more about just some simple core exercises? People, I know you mentioned things like planks, but I think some people may find those to be extraordinarily difficult. Some people may have, replaced knees and things like that. Might not be able to get down and kneel on the floor. What are some good, like, sitting or standing core exercises that can be really helpful for people?
If you're sitting in a, ooh, that doesn't sound good. If you're sitting in a chair, scoot all the way up to the front of the chair and tuck your tailbone under so that your spine is sort of a C shape curled in towards your belly button. Lean back as far as you can so it feels like your legs want to come up off the floor, and then come back forward again. You can do that coming straight up, or you can do it going from your right elbow towards your left knee, left elbow towards your right knee. You can sit in a position with your hands behind your head, elbows out, and bring your knee and elbow together on opposite sides. You can lean back in your chair, again with your tailbone tucked under, one leg at a time, out off the floor with your toe turned out, and lift your ankle towards the ceiling. If you start to arch your back, you'll feel that right away. Stop, tuck that tailbone back under, and start again. You can sit up in a chair and just rotate as far as you can from one side to another very slowly, forcing your core to do the work.
Thank you. That's really good. One of the new things that I've seen is these vibrating plates that you can stand on. Have you? I know they're fairly safe because they're only a few inches off the floor. Have you heard about those in terms of how they're helping people with balance and stability?
I hate to be a naysayer. A lot of people love those. I just haven't found them to be as effective as other people maybe do. They're really good at forcing your body to activate some neurons that don't normally get activated. So if you've suffered a stroke or something like that where you need a little extra help getting those neurons to activate, it can work very well in those situations. But I really think for most people, sticking with the basic exercises that also increase strength is a little bit more effective.
Thanks so much. Are there some simple things that you could take note of as an individual, where you might call it what something might be termed a normal fall versus a sign of some bigger issue?
I always go back to, if I understood you right, what people remember around the time of the fall. We have a gentleman, this happens all the time, that something happened right before the fall that caused them to fall in the first place. Did they lose consciousness? Did they get one of those sudden bouts of orthostatic hypertension? Did they hit their head? Some people, I hate to say this, but so often I've seen that people have a little TIA and then fall, or maybe their heart will flutter and then they fall. So look around what happened around the time of the fall. There may be an underlying medical condition that really needs to be addressed. We see that quite often, that a fall can be a symptom of something bigger, not the issue all by itself.
And we've had one question about the best types of shoes. You had mentioned, obviously flip-flops and things like that are not good, but what are the best types of shoes for people as they continue to get older?
I really like the slip-on type of shoes that they have now, like a loafer, or they have tennis shoes that if your hands don't work as well as they used to, you can now Velcro them, or they even have the kind that you can slip on. An occupational therapist also has a really long shoe horn that you can stand without having to bend over. You can stand up, put it in the back of your shoe, and it'll allow your foot to slide into the shoe very easily. I really recommend those. Get really good arch supports. If you're a pronator, buy shoes that keep your feet from rolling in. If you have the opposite problem where your feet want to go out, try to get some shoes with a really good sole that keep your feet from being able to roll to the outside.
And if there is an ankle injury, are there exercises that strengthen the bones besides walking?
There are. Boy, if you can get in a swimming pool, just a flutter kick in a swimming pool is really, really good. Standing on, we call it a wobble board or a balance board, where you can rotate forward and back, forward and back. You can sit in a chair and roll your ankles around, making the circles as big as you can. And then the other side. Again, all of those are using the muscles. The muscles have to pull against the bone, and that increases the density of the bone.
Excellent. And you had mentioned a little bit about this, but perhaps you could expand upon it on proprioception. How can you improve that as a practical matter?
Proprioception is huge. It's a matter of knowing where your body is in space. And when you say I'm really uncoordinated, it probably means you just have poor proprioception. Again, if you can, I don't know, can you see me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I'm sitting here and my hands are straight out to the side, I can close my eyes and just touch my nose without looking. That helps proprioception. If you go to touch your nose and you end up sticking your finger in your eye, you know you need some help. So touching your fingers, I'm going to back up over your head like so, helps with proprioception. Walking heel to toe helps proprioception. If you stand up, arms out to the side, close your eyes and turn your head side to side, you may get dizzy at first, which let me talk about the Epley maneuver in just a second. But if you stand up with your arms side to side, turn your head like so, that will help improve that proprioception. Or if you stand the same way, try to stand in that tandem stance and rotate your whole upper body side to side like so, like a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to help improve it too. Another thing I didn't mention is if you have vertigo, most of the time a physical therapist can fix that pretty quick. And again, not all the time, most of the time. There's something called the Epley maneuver that helps rebalance crystals, and that's not even a joke, it's true. There are crystals in the center of your ear, in your ear canal. And depending where your crystals become unbalanced, an Epley maneuver can help rebalance those crystals, put them back where they belong. 95% of the time that can be effective. So what a therapist will do is have you sit up straight and turn your head to the left and right. If you get dizzy on one or both sides, oftentimes it's because of something really simple, that those little crystals are out of place. You'll turn your head to the side, the therapist will support your neck, and you lay back quickly with your head dangling off of the edge of a bench or a bed or a table. And you will stay that way until the dizziness goes away. You may have to repeat that a few times, but a therapist will help you do that. If you have vertigo and you've kind of felt like nothing is helping, you might ask about doing the Epley maneuver with a physical therapist.
That's always fascinating. I don't have any additional questions. I'll open it up again to anybody in the audience if they'd like to ask any final question. Give it a second. As usual, Evan, your information is just so useful and so practical. And I know everybody that was listening in today and watching got some really practical information that will help them hopefully prevent falls as we all continue to age. So we thank you so much again for your time, and we wish everyone a good day out in virtual land.